the middle. He's in! Utah leads. Daniels for the win. Caught! It's gone! LSU does it! Mason Taylor!
Hey everybody, welcome in to Bash's CFB show here on YouTube. This is the South Carolina Gamecocks preview in case you didn't see in the title and thumbnail. Now, we have a lot of these previews coming. Next up, we have the Auburn Tigers, but if you have more ideas for teams, comment them down below. We're going to have a big level up in the next month because we are only about a month away from the first football being played. I mean, Notre Dame Navy, Jacksonville State's going to kick off FBS play with a conference game in Conference USA against UTEP and Dana DeMel's squad. This is going to be a fun week 0 and a fun week 1 and a fun college football season. And right here, we are leveling up. We are working really hard. I, your host, Colin Bashnagel, working really hard, vowing to you that I'm going to be working really hard to bring you great content that's going to involve you guys if you guys want to be involved. So make sure that you like and subscribe for what could potentially come in the future. Comment down below, get yourself involved, and also click that playlist up above in case you want to see my predictions that I have. So, with South Carolina, we're going to get into the players leaving here. Key departures to the NFL draft or the next level. Fullback Nate Adkins is gone. Also, 2 wide receivers, and Jalen Brooks and Josh Vann gone. Interior offensive lineman Jovan Gwynn gone to the NFL. And then Zach Pickens, a defensive tackle, picked by my Chicago Bears. How about that one? Cam Smith, a cornerback, and Darius Rush, another cornerback, all gone for the NFL. All of those guys that I just mentioned. All right, guys, transferring out here, quarterback Braden Davis is heading off to Syracuse, while you had 2 running backs leave. Marshawn Lloyd, the notable one, was a starter last year. He has gone off to the USC Trojans. That is a big loss for this South Carolina football team. Definitely something that they are going to be missing. Rashad Amos is going to Miami of Ohio, so that's a little bit less of a big loss, but still a loss nonetheless off that roster and the depth that they have at that running back position, in which we will talk about later on. Then 2 tight ends are gone, and they're both big-time players. Sorry, I skipped a wide receiver, Corey Rucker, going off to Arkansas State, but tight ends, Jaheim Bell off to Florida State. He is a stud, could be the best or the second best. I don't want to, go crazy on here. But, you lose him, Jaheim Bell, one of the best playmakers at the tight end position in the ranks of college football. He is off to Florida State. And then also Austin Stogner going back over to Oklahoma to rejoin his old teammates over there, the ones that are left, of course. 2 offensive tackles left. Colin Henrick headed over to Georgia State, and Jordan Davis going over to South Alabama. On the defensive side of the ball, 2 big-time losses, with Jordan Burch heading to Oregon, a player that definitely flashed, maybe didn't live up to the hype that he had, but certainly flashed at moments last year. And then also Gilbert Edmond off to Florida State, a big-time loss right there. Rodriguez Fitton off to Eastern Tennessee State University to play the remainder of his college ball. And Joey Hunter, a cornerback depth piece, going off to Akron. So those are the transfers out. What do they bring in, the South Carolina Gamecocks? Running back Rashad Amos. I must have that backwards. I think I said Rashad Amos is coming or leaving the program. I had that written down incorrectly when I had him written down here for Rashad Amos transferring in. I don't believe he's transferring in. I'm pretty sure he's leaving. So mute point right there. Trey Knox heading in from Arkansas at tight end to try to cover for that. Joshua Simon heading in from Western Kentucky to also cover that loss at tight end. Another tight end they pick up was Nick Elksness, who is coming in from Florida, maybe more of a depth piece. not necessarily a guy I expect to make an immediate impact on the South Carolina roster. And then wide receiver Eddie Lewis coming in from Memphis. Now you have 2 offensive tackles, Sidney Fugger coming in from Western Illinois, and then Nick Gargiulo. I don't even know if that's correct. Gargiulo, whatever. Coming in from Yale. I didn't watch Yale last year, pardon me. And an interior offensive lineman in Jackson Hughes coming in from Charlotte. Edge rusher Jaron Willis coming in from Ole Miss, big time pickup there. And then defensive lineman Jadius Gear coming in from Syracuse. Potential breakout players to watch out for. This is a guy that definitely flashed at times last year. Dakarian Joyner, I think, as a quarterback, kind of wildcat quarterback, he definitely is going to be versatile, definitely going to play a good bit. He's going to be fun to watch. You could also watch out for Xavier Leggett. He's been in the system a while. A lot of people do think that he stayed for a reason. A lot of people think he's going to put up numbers this year in his first year starting and probably his last year in college football. And then finally, I'm going to talk about it. He's one of the stat guys that I mentioned down below. As a true freshman, he was amazing, and this year he could potentially level up. Strong safety, Nick Amenwari, a player that you got to watch out for. DQ Smith, a final breakout player that I want to mention, the other safety on the other side. All right, roster breakdown. We're going to get through it here at quarterback. We know what you have in Spencer Rattler, and you have a good, solid backup who's been in the system for a while, and Luke Doty. And then Juju McDowell, Mario Anderson, those are the 2 running backs. So with Dontavius Braswell trying to push for some playing time with Dakarian Joyner, a former quarterback right there. And then, of course, the wide receivers. You have Juice Wells coming back, the best player at wide receiver last year. You have Eddie Lewis from Memphis coming in, and then Xavier Leggett, that depth piece, definitely guys to watch out for. The depth there is not super deep at all. Marion Brown is a player that may be able to play and push for playing time. You also have freshman Nicholas Harbor. We'll see what happens with him. He's kind of a freak. I do expect for him later in the year to get a lot more playing time. And then, as far as this team goes, you'll lose 4 of your top 5 receivers from last year in Stogner, Bell, Van, and Brooks. You bring back your leading target, though, in Juice Wells, which might cover up for a lot of it. And a lot of players that have not played a ton looking to step up. Xavier Leggett, 167 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. He's going to get a lot more run. He's going to get a lot of playing time. Got to watch out for. Talk about that tight end position just real quick. Joshua Simon and Trey Knox going to be that 1-2. Elksness going to be that third tight end option for sure. Definitely good tight ends that they brought in. Getting Trey Knox out of the portal definitely saved them at that position. He's not as good, in my opinion, as Jaheim Bell, but that's definitely as good as you could do as far as replacing him through the portal. All right, offensive line, Ja'Kai Moore is definitely going to be a solid starter at 1 tackle spot. Now, the depth there is certainly not there. There's a reason why they brought in Jackson Hughes to fill in from Charlotte, because even though he played on the interior at Charlotte, he is likely going to kick out the tackle to help with that depth. A player that is still pretty big. He's just got to put, a little bit more of that tackle build and tackle reps. And overall, I think he's coming in to play some tackle. Then you have right tackle, probably going to be Sidney Fugger, the player I talked about from Western Illinois. Big time pickup right there from the FCS ranks. I think he probably was the 2nd or 3rd best tackle out of the FCS ranks who was in the portal. Definitely a Johnny Cornelius from going to Oregon was above him from Rhode Island for sure. But he's a good player now. I'm curious to see how he's going to be able to gel in his first year at South Carolina. Again, not a whole lot of depth there. Kason Henry, maybe that other tackle that could play. On the inside, you have a little bit more experience. Trey Jones and Tyshawn Wanamaker are 2 guards that are certainly going to start because of the fact that the depth is not there at guard. You have John Darius Morgan, who's definitely going to be that 3rd guard in that system. But are you going to look at a guy like Mark Walters to be able to play guard? Are you going to look at Marquis Anderson? Do you kick Jackson Hughes inside? Do you kick Nick Gargiulo outside from center to guard? Now, he is, of course, the backup center to Vershawn Lee. Vershawn Lee, redshirt junior, been in the system a while. Overall, I like the experience. Don't love the experience. of South Carolina. I don't love the depth that they have on their offensive line. I don't even love the talent necessarily, but I think that they have some good pieces and definitely a team that could, or definitely an offensive line that could hold their own in the SEC. Talking about the defense, they bring back a good bit of players, even if they lost a little bit of production, and they definitely lost some. But Jordan Strachan is back this year, as well as Tonka Hemingway on the other side. Those are going to be the edge rushers. Tyreek Johnson is a player that has been in the system a while, and then Terrell Dawkins, experienced player in college football. They're pretty set at the edge rusher position, less on the interior. I do like Nick Barrett and Elijah Davis as backups there for Alex Huntley and TJ Sanders, but overall the upside there is not as high as a lot of people would hope your interior is in the SEC. Mohamed Kaba and Debo Williams, those are going to be the two starting linebackers there. Barn Martin Scott and Stone Blanton are two guys to watch out for to get some playing time. Blanton, of course, a true sophomore, maybe be able to play a lot more this year and take a second-year leap. I am curious to see how that works. But overall, I mean, you have a player in Debo Williams who has played a good bit, and you have Tonka Hemingway, who has definitely played a good bit. 8 tackles for loss last year for Tonka. Moving on. That front seven right there. I like what I see out of some of these guys, but this back, I want to say 5, so really front 6, and then the back 5. This is where it gets very fun and interesting. Marcellus Dial coming in to fill that Cam Smith role. I think he could do it in a great, great way. He played fantastic last year. I think he was like more of a nickel, but certainly definitely. You guys remember at the end of last year when they had to play Tennessee and beat the crap out of Tennessee, they were struggling at depth in the secondary there, and he was one of the guys that stood out and stepped up. Nick Emenwari and DQ Smith, two of those guys that definitely stepped up as well. O'Donnell Fortune is probably going to be a starter on the outside. Don't know too much about him. And then David Spalding going to play that nickel position, been in the system a very long time. Judge Collier, a young player who's expected to play a good bit there as a true freshman, and Peyton Williams, got to watch out for at safety as well to get some playing time. Isaiah Norris, finally, depth piece there. All right, you have Mitch Jeter there, place kicker and kickoff specialist with Kai Kroger as the punter. With that being said, the over-under is set at 6.5 for the South Carolina Gamecocks, which means success is definitely predicted for this squad this year. The question is, are they going to be able to take a jump to become like an 8 or 9 win team and certainly a contender for second in the East? All right, they're going to start with the neutral site game against North Carolina. Drake May losing a little bit of weapons and that defense maybe having some struggles. I think South Carolina is going to come out firing, especially for a rivalry game here. I think they're going to win that Duke's Mayo Classic, as they call it, and I think that this is going to be a fantastic opener for this. And then Furman, that's a great way to regroup before playing at Georgia in the Sanford Stadium, CBS. There's going to be a lot of hype. I assume South Carolina will be ranked after their North Carolina victory. Overall, I do have them losing to a better Georgia football team. Then Mississippi State comes to Williams-Brice Stadium. I think you get back and you're able to beat Mississippi State, but I'm not going to say that that game's necessarily going to be easy. I think there's some games on the schedule that you will win and you will lose, and this could be one of the games that are basically a toss-up to me. At Tennessee, I think there's still going to be some hype around this game. A lot of people are going to be saying, hey, revenge factor. A lot of people are also going to say South Carolina just has their number. Do they have their number? I actually think this game is going to be pretty close, even in Neyland Stadium. But at the end of the day, I do think Tennessee is able to put up enough points to be able to hold off South Carolina and get a win in Neyland before the bye. Then I think that going into the bye, sitting on that loss, being a little bit distraught, especially a close, hard-fought loss like I expect, I think they come around and I think they get upset against the Florida Gators off the bye, kind of sleepwalking through maybe half the game or so. Definitely not expecting Florida to give them a big punch, but Florida, a team that though they might not be that good, they have some talent. They have good coaches, in my opinion. I think that the Florida Gators could potentially shock a team or two and pull off an upset. I think this is one of them. Florida pulls off the big upset, and then your losses continue in Missouri. That's always a tough trip to make. And of course, South Carolina with a couple of losses back to back, haven't tasted victory in a little while. This one's going to be tough for them to handle. And then they lose at Texas A&M, back-to-back road trip, more talented team. This is going to be a tough stretch for South Carolina. So here, you start out 2-0, probably ranked, go to play at Georgia, and then you go into that Tennessee game 3-1 with everything in front of you, and then all of a sudden you look up and you are 3-5 before playing against Jacksonville State, which should be no problem as a victory and maybe able to get them back on the right track. And I think they do. I think they handle Vanderbilt no problem. I do like what Clark Lee's doing. I'm going to always say that about Vanderbilt, despite the fact that I don't think that the results are going to absolutely reflect that. And then Kentucky, I have you beating Kentucky. One of those 50-50 games I talked about. You could put Missouri and Florida in this realm. You could put Mississippi State and Kentucky as well in this realm. There are 4 50-50 games on this schedule. I think that South Carolina is going to go 2-2. I'm not including North Carolina, first game of the year. I think North Carolina's got some growing pains to get through, a little bit more than South Carolina does. And I think that the Kentucky Wildcats is an opportunity for them to get bowling before playing against Clemson. Try to beat them again. And I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to go down to the wire a lot like last year in Columbia. But I think, yet again, the away team wins that game. I have Clemson beating you in Williams-Brice Stadium for you to finish the year 6-6 and 3-5 in conference, with those 3 wins being Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. So 6-6. 3-5 in conference. Let me know in the comments section below what you think South Carolina is going to do this year. I was able to get through this video a lot faster. I'm kind of proud of myself for that. Last thing I got to say, please check out my TikTok there, Bash's CFB Show. You will not be disappointed. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. You guys have a great day. We'll see you guys next time.